Hello everyone, Hobbyist here. We are back at it again with another Nemesis room guide video. This time, we are going to be talking about all the additional rooms number 2 that exist inside of Nemesis. Now, just as a general overview before we get to the specifics of each room and knowing how they work, all of these additional room 2 tiles that you see on the ship are rooms that are helpful to you. They help out quite a bit, but you're not always going to see all of these rooms. A lot of times there might be 2 or 3 rooms that you won't ever see at all. And you never know if these rooms are or are not on the ship during your gameplay. Whereas all the room 1 tiles were always guaranteed. So, kind of look at this video as how to best utilize these rooms if they're on the ship. But don't always count on these rooms being there to help you out, because they're just not. So let's get started. The first room that we're going to talk about inside of the additional room 2s is the command center. The command center is a red room, so if you ever perform a search action inside of this room, then you are going to be pulling from the red military deck in order to decide which items you are going to keep and which one you are going to discard. This room is a room that can be used regardless of if you are or are not in combat. So, that generally is the case for a good majority of the rooms, except for the rooms where you are trying to escape and things of that nature. So, that's just something to keep in mind. The command center also is a room that has a computer, as you see that blue logo that's right under where the cost is. So if you have characters that work in rooms or have action cards that talk about rooms with computers in them, this is one of those rooms. If the command center is in your gameplay of Nemesis, then for the cost of 2 action cards, you have the ability to open and close doors. What that means is that you can choose any one room and close and open any doors in any corridors connected to this room. Essentially, you have control over all the doors over one particular room, which can be used for essentially 2 purposes. You can either use them to block out intruders to make sure that they don't have that chance to come in and swing on you, or you can use them to trap another player in a room with an intruder or a room that's on fire, so they have no way to get out and you can get them killed. So, those are really the 2 functions that exist. One of the key things that you want to know about the command center is that you can choose which doors to close and which ones to open. You don't have to either go all open or all closed. You can kind of just pick and choose and decide. Just as long as it's over that one room is the key thing that matters. The room that we're going to be talking about is the monitoring room. It is also a red military room just like the command center, so it serves the same function when it comes to searching the room. And it also has a computer for any characters that have action cards that involve rooms with computers, so that's something to keep in mind. But the monitoring room has something that's pretty simple and is quite useful for the general public, aside from the typical characters who are good at doing this. So, what you can do is for the cost of 2 action cards, you can check one room and the exploration token. This is quite crucial as it allows you to see, okay, is this room necessary? Okay, this is a great room. Oh, but that room is on fire or that room is slimed. Maybe I don't want to immediately go in there. You can also use that information to lie to other people about what rooms you did see or what you didn't see. Things of that nature. So, this is going to be a very important tool for a lot of other players to use. And it's probably a good combination, especially if these 2 are right next to each other, of having a monitoring room to look and see, okay, these are what's in there, and then you can use the command center to open and close doors that you see are necessary. The shower room is the next room that we're going to be talking about inside of Nemesis. If this room is on the ship and you perform a search action inside of it with items, then it is a white room function, meaning that you can choose between the red military deck, the green medical deck, or the yellow technical deck in order to perform the search action inside of. So that is the benefits of that. As you can see though, there is no room with a computer here. It's just a room. And it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, all you're literally doing is taking a shower. So for the cost of 2 action cards, here is how this shower room works, if it so happens to be on the ship during your gameplay. If you have a slime marker on your character board, discard it. This is literally the only other way to get rid of slime aside from the clothes item inside the technical deck. So, you want to hope and pray that the shower room is here, because it is going to help you by a lot. The other thing that it could do is that you may choose to scan all contamination cards in your hand and remove all non-infected cards. Back in our Room 1 video when we talked about the surgery process, we noticed how that gap of, even though you scanned all the contamination cards and got rid of the infected ones, well, what if you do if the cards aren't infected? Well, you're kind of stuck and gummed up with them, right? Well, this is a place where you can scan those contamination cards and get rid of all the non-infected ones, to where maybe you could clear yourself of all of those cards completely, and then you'll just remove them from the game, which is great. However, if at least one of those cards is infected, place a larva miniature on your character board, and do not remove this contamination card. Anytime, whenever we are scanning, as we learned in our tutorial for contamination cards, that you scan an infected card, and you didn't previously have a larva on them, then you simply put that contamination card back in your discard pile. You're stuck with it until you can get rid of it somehow. However, if you already had a larva on your board, well, you get the sort of face hugger treatment of, you know, an alien bursting out of your chest. So, when that happens, your character will obviously die because it's a horrible way to go. And then you'll place a creeper in the room where you died. There is quite a few risks, definitely a lot more rewards for using the shower room. But one of the key things to know about the shower room is that a fire marker can be placed in the shower room in the normal way. The take a shower action does not discard a fire marker from the shower room, which to me kind of sucks and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, it's literally water in a shower room, but that's the important thing. You can't use the shower room in order to be able to remove the fire that exists inside of there, because the water apparently isn't strong enough to do that. So that's something else to kind of keep in mind. Now for the fun yellow room. Oh, buddy. So this is the Airlock Control room. It is a yellow room, so it essentially serves the same function as any other yellow room when it comes to searching that room. However, it also is a room where you have the ability to start the emergency depressurization. Now, assuming that it is on the ship, let's say you do find it, and that it's not non-existent. The way that the emergency depressurization system works is that inside of the core box of Nemesis, you'll see a little token that has a little exclamation point on it. You guys might know what I'm talking about. I currently don't have it with me at the moment, but you get to choose any other yellow room that exists on the ship. So, if you have the generator room out there, if you have the engine control room, when we talk about it later, any yellow room. The corridors that have to be connected to that room cannot have any destroyed doors. If there isn't, let's say that the yellow room area that you picked didn't even have any doors closed to begin with. They were all open. First thing that you're going to do is that you are going to lock down that entire room by closing all the doors in that room. Then, what happens is that you are going to place the depressurization token in that room to represent the active emergency depressurization. If any of the doors in the corridors connected to that room are opened before the current phase ends, remove the token. If all doors in each corridor connected to that room are closed at the end of the current player phase, after all players have passed, everything in that room dies immediately. Both characters and intruders. then remove that token. If there was a fire marker in that room, remove it. Any corpses, carcasses, and dropped objects still remain. Because the way that I see it is that essentially what happened was all the air, when all the doors got shut, sucked all the air out of the room and suffocated everything that was in it. Obviously, this is the best way to kill off the queen, as it's significantly safer, and obviously, it's a way to kill off players. So, this room can be quite nasty and quite great at the same time. So please, use this room as you see fit. The Airlock Control room is a great room. The room covered in slime is kind of a dick move. I mean, it really is. Because the way that it works is that it has no cost. It has no any particular ability that has to be activated. In fact, it is one of the few rooms inside a Nemesis to where it actually just functions as a passive. To where, when you enter this room, you automatically get a slime marker. And every time you enter that room, you get a slime marker. Because there's no numbers on this, much like there was with the nest in our last video, you can't search this room. Neither the room covered in slime nor the nest also can't be malfunctioning. However, they both can be set on fire if things happen that way. The key thing that you're going to want to know about the room covered in slime is that the room, when it affects you with slime, always happens before you resolve the exploration token. So what that essentially means is that whenever you explore and find the room covered in slime, you are essentially performing a noise roll while you have slime on top of you. And as we have learned back in our tutorial, slime is horrible. It's really horrible because every result inside of the noise die is always, always, always bad. So this room literally is a dick move. Are a lot nicer. So the cabins is also a passive room to where if you search this room, as you can see the numbers for the item counter is actually back this time, then you treat it as any white room inside a Nemesis. It also doesn't have a cost like other rooms. Why is that? Well, if you catch your breath inside the cabins, is that if your character is in this room at the start of a new round and there are no intruders there, you get to draw one additional action card up to 6 cards instead of 5. However, the passive feature of this room does not work if there is a malfunction token in the room. So, if this room is working, then this passive ability can affect everybody. 6 cards can greatly do a lot more for you in comparison to just 5 or having anywhere less than. Always drawing that extra card also makes the difference in how many actions you can take during that turn. Whether you want to move normally or move carefully. Whether you decide to take on a surprise attack or not, because you have more cards in hand that can stop the intruder tokens from being able to do any extra damage to you. More options for more combat, more options for trading, more options for crafting. Like, please take advantage of the cabins if you manage to find this on top of the ship. Because no other room inside of the entirety of the base game of Nemesis has this passive ability that benefits you to this degree. Canteen is another room 2 tile that exists inside of the Nemesis ship. Sometimes, not always. If you search it, you are able to get green medical items, as it is a green room, and it costs you 2 cards, just like every other room inside a Nemesis, in order to use. So, if you decide to have a snack, this is what it entails. You are able to heal 1 light wound. Always great. If you manage to stop all those light wounds early, then you reduce the chances of those light wounds accumulating to serious wounds, and then those serious wounds accumulating to more serious wounds, and then eventually dying. The other thing that you can do is that you can decide to choose to scan all contamination cards in your hand and remove all non-infected cards. You follow the same procedure as the shower room, to where if one of those cards is infected, then, well, you get a larva on your board. If you already had a larva on your board, then you get an alien through your chest, and a creeper's gonna show up, and obviously you die. So, that is the risk, and it is the only other place to where you can remove non-infected cards. That is going to be the key difference when it comes to contamination cards inside of your hand. Is, one, removing the cards that say infected to reduce the chances of dying, and then later going back and removing all of the cards that say non-infected in order to be able to clear out your hand so that way you can efficiently use all the cards in your hand. So yeah, that is essentially what that room does. What we're going to be talking about is the engine control room. It is an occasional room that exists inside a Nemesis, that is a yellow room, that serves the same functions as the search action, and it also is a room with a computer in it. So, any characters that have abilities that pertain to using a room with a computer are going to apply to the engine control room. So if you spend 2 action cards and you decide to use the engine control room, you can check the statuses of the engines. And when you check the statuses, you don't get to just check one engine. No. You get to check all 3 engines in order to make sure that nobody has messed with them, made sure that anybody was lying and said that they were broken, or any of that situation. Verification is always true inside a Nemesis, because even though the aliens are dangerous, even though you have a greater chance of dying or being infected, the people that you sometimes can't even trust on your own crew often being the bigger problem than the aliens themselves. Because you have that one crewmate who decides to stab you in the back when you least expect it, who's gained your trust all game, has cooperated with you, has made sure your objectives go smoothly in order to kill you in the end, in order to either save themselves or fulfill whatever corporate objectives that they have. So, verification is always important. Or, use it to form your own lies. That's another way to do it. One of the key things about the engine control room is that the engine control room can still be used even if it's malfunctioning. The fact that you can use the engine control room while it is malfunctioning is honestly great. It is literally the only room that you can do this in, because every other room inside a Nemesis, if you make it malfunctioning, you can't use it. So yeah, please use the engine control room as much as possible if you feel that it is needed necessary, because it's the only one that you can do it with, even if there is a malfunction. The other tip inside of the engine control room is that they cannot change the engine status. You can only merely look at them. This is a crucial difference, as you still have to get back there to the actual engines themselves in order to check, okay, is this functioning, is this malfunctioning? We only need 2 of these to work, so which ones do we really want to focus on? So that is something to keep in mind. This last room, I pray to God, is on your ship, as it is going to be the most important room, too, that I would think that probably should be on the ship. If it were me, I would always put it as a room 1, but hey, we didn't design the Nemesis. And that is the hatch control system. Now, the hatch control system is a white room, so it allows you to search any deck color for items, but it also serves another function. It can allow you, for the cost of 2 cards, to be able to lock or unlock one escape pod by flipping the escape pod token to its locked or unlocked side. even though the escape pods are definitely the safer option with significantly less people being able to sabotage your escape pod escape, aside from the occasional aliens showing up there, it is really, really hard to open the escape pods manually. I mean, let's go through the list. So the way that escape pods open inside a Nemesis is one, if it hits the yellow threshold in the self-destruct track, then all of them will open. The first character who dies in Nemesis is when all the escape pods will open. And the only other way is what? The occasional escape pod key that you might not even have, as someone might have traded you for it. Or someone who has just made sure that you had all the hope in the world of escaping from that escape pod just to close it on you. Like, it's really, really, really hard to get through escape pods. It really is. So, use the hatch control system to either be that guy who stops and shuts down all hope for that player escaping, or unlocking it to help that player escape in order to help yourself escape, because you won't really have any other way to escape. So yes, this is the last room that exists inside of the room 2s of Nemesis. Everybody, so much for watching. If you haven't yet already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment down below. What next video do you want me to talk about? Do you have any questions for me regarding Nemesis? I would love to be able to answer all of those for you.